Here's a couple of brook trout I done. I actually did them on video. Painted them both at the same time. The bottom one was painted like a reproduction. It was solid white. There's so many colors that go on anyway. They almost both really paint the same. I lost all the footage, but basically what I did is I had one that was solid white, which was the bottom one. And then I made it look like a dead skin mount. And the main color was just rich brown. I used rich brown, made it, the head was white and everything. And then I painted it to look like a dead fish. And then I went ahead and put all my layers of colors over it. Even if that doesn't match 100%, as long as it's like, relatively close to the same color as a dead fish, just apply your skin mount method over the top of it, and you got your fish. You can do that with any fish. Make it look like a dead, if you know how to only paint a skin mount, make it look like a dead fish and start putting your colors on it, and then you've got your fish painted. Unfortunately, I lost all this footage. I've got a fish that's really almost too big to be a brook trout. It's a little lake trout's what it is. But we're going to use this, and it shows up bigger for you. This is all like rich brown right here. And there's some repair work up here. We'll just paint the head white. I'm going to show you the different ways of doing the belly. On this one, there's like a seam there. You can get as detailed as you want as this seam. You can let your reference determine how good you do. But what it is the seam goes right below the fins. Just underneath the fin where it joins the body. That kind of traces out your line. There's like a black seam in the belly. You can either miss it on and let your reference be your guide. Some fish are that way. It's either just like a faded little black streak, or you can get more detailed, like this one. Let your reference be your guide. But we're going to get started. In hindsight, on these fish, but notice how the blue spots are bigger than the yellow spots? That's kind of a no-no. Try to keep them about the same size, and you're going to have your best realistic effect. I went a little bit big on the blue spots. Basically, I made a mistake and then had to paint over them. And every time you paint over a spot, it gets a little bit bigger. And that's kind of what I run into. So go on, paint them white. And looks like there's a lot up here under the jaw. Turn the fish however you got to. Adjust your air spray accordingly. The fins look like they could be painted white. Or you can leave them plain. Epoxy, they got epoxy that's white. And I think other colors too. Same thing. If you're doing a replica, you put all the spots in, no big deal. As far as the back, you're going to have to completely replicate them anyway, regardless whether it's a reproduction or not. You can paint the fins white if you want, or leave them be. Yeah, a lot of times you're not going to have repair work on the tail. It just so happens that this one I do. We're going to use the same color to go ahead and put our whiten up our belly. White again. More repair work underneath. Taken care of. When the fish closes its mouth, they fold up in and hide. Go ahead and whiten those out. Of course, as with any fish. Jaw, go ahead and start with the mouth. Inside the mouth is good and white. And when you paint the gill plate white, you just want to make sure that there's a time to be careful. You don't want to paint the side of the body white. Although anything is fixable. So when you paint the belly white, you don't want to go out past the joints. I'm going to turn it on the side, but while we got it right here, I'm going to get what I can from the bottom. See how that looks? There we are. Now it mainly stays on bottom, and then it comes up kind of abruptly towards the bottom of these front fins here on the bottom. So I usually about like that, and then it can kind of come up like that. But other than that, it tapers in real quick, goes down to the belly. Anal fin, the whiteness on the belly, I don't think it goes much past the anal fin. Now I've got my white again. I want to come up a little bit more. Use a good reference picture. But it tends to be just under that. Turn your fish however you got to do it, you know. See, it stays so much on the bottom, you can barely... By the time it gets to the tail, it kind of tapers out. You know, maybe a little back in here. Maybe. But all this is going to be orange down here anyway. And orange is so opaque, it's going to cover a lot of stuff. I might lighten these fins up a little bit to get some of that black undertone off, I guess. You could solidly white them. Remember, there is no difference really in the way your reproduction and the skin mount looks. I mean, you got to incorporate the vermiculations in anyway, regardless. So you might as well accept the fact that you're going to have to be doing some hand stuff. Now we've got rich brown. I guess you could call it like we're still trying to make it look like a dead skin mount in some ways to apply other colors. You could look at it that way. The lower jaw on these fish tends to stay white pretty much. Well, it does get some shading. We can always do that later. Usually the lower cheek area gets pretty dark. This is all going to be white right in here. Where the maxillary usually folds in, up under the maxillary. That skin that's usually under the maxillary tends to be white, but we'll do that later. The gills tend to be white anyway, but we're going to angle spray anyway and bring these gills out. I'll show you that later. This gill flap. See how that rich brown is matching the rest of the body? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Match them up pretty good. And remember, we're putting some colors over there that's going to pretty much hide all this stuff anyway. But we're getting to the point where we want to be a little bit careful with our spray as far as like the white on the belly. We done that like a skin mount, but you wouldn't have any spots showing. You'd have to put those in. But I'll show you how we do that later if you're doing a reproduction. Yeah, if you choose to paint, put a little bit of color in your pins, like if you painted them white, right now is a good time to put a good coat of rich brown on it. You can get that matched in, even if it's not perfect. It's going to be so close. It's not going to matter because we got so many colors going over it. Yeah, it doesn't have to be exact. As long as it's in the ballpark, then you're good. adjust the fish so you can get the top of the head and blend it in real good. Dark brown is what's really going to match it in real good. Okay, I've got my dark brown, and this is really helps to bring the fish out too. Darkening the head still and the back. I mean, while I got it this way. Angle spraying sometimes hits things in a certain way and brings out some detail in that head, which helps. We're going to put some black later, so that's going to help too. A dark brown, I mean. That's bringing stuff out that you normally wouldn't see. Right here on the very edge of the lip. We can go back over this with the black later, which I'll show you later. It looks cool. Top of the head real good. Usually right around the eye even. I'll try that. A lot of times I'll go around the eye and then come up and then from the very top come down to where the cheek and the gill flap juncture is, and I may come down a little bit right in there. After a while, you may have your own method how you like to paint your fish, you know. Now right down here on the references, you'll see all this is usually pretty black. What's going to be, there's going to be a stream of white right here, but it's going to be outlined with a shading of black, and it's perfectly normal. You know, let some overspray hit them gills. And it's one of those things it'll come together a little bit later. This is all detailing for later, I guess is the right word. This right here tends to be a little bit blackish on these brook trout, but the jaw will be white. So basically what we're doing, we're just detailing the face up. You could actually use dark brown and get away without even having to really use black, but it does add. Now we're going to get the top of the back. I'm going to go ahead and go along the back. And fade this out at the lateral line. This is where you lose your vermiculations, unfortunately. Darkest on the back. Fade out as you get to the lateral line. back too. And if you got your fins carded, this is a good color for the back. You know where your fins are carded? And fade out by the time you get to the ladder line. Completely faded out by the time you get to the ladder line. Oh yeah, the dark brown can kind of match in some of your colors a little bit. You know, like your repair work. Like you can't even see the repair work on the head anymore, but okay, I've still got my dark brown. Yeah, go ahead and put start out darker on the top, and go ahead and go. You can see the color just going on just a little bit. It's almost like you're bringing the spots out a little bit. So go ahead and fade out completely by the time you get to the belly. The upper belly, I guess you should say. And make it look like it's definitely with the back darker. And then fade out before you get to where the orange begins on the belly. You want to be completely faded out. It's almost like you're just bringing the spots out a little bit. Now I've got medium green. I see it on a lot of these Brook Trout, and it calls for it. Not all the paint schedules do. I guess it depends on the fish. If you see green in him, then you put it in. This is a medium green. A lot of the schedules call for like a transparent medium green, because this is kind of opaque. But I do want a hint of green on my fish because I see it. And I go all the way, cover the whole side with it. I want to be able to see it, but not much. You just want a hint of, I guess you'd call it like a brown with a greenish tint is the right word, which the dark brown tends to be that way anyway. And if you put a little bit of yellow over the dark brown, it gives you your greenish hue anyway. But for right now, I just want just a hint of green, and even on the fins a little bit. The only way you can mess these fish up is if you don't make it dark enough underneath where you're putting the spots, I guess is the right word. A little bit of green on the fins. Not a lot, just a hint. Starting to look a little bit green. Now remember, these are base colors. If I was doing a reproduction, I wouldn't even be worrying about trying to save spots or anything anyway. Okay, I'm starting to see the green. A lot of fish have green in them that isn't on paint scale. A lot of your brown fish have green in them, like your red eyes and your smallmouth even sometimes. That's what I'm trying to mimic. The spots that you see underneath the Brook Trout. I think I'm going to stop right there. That looks pretty good. Brown again. I just want to tone some of this green down just a little bit, because I'm going to end up putting a little bit of yellow, and I know what the yellow is going to do to this green. So I'm just going to tone it down just a little bit. You don't need it much because the back is going to get dark again anyway. But still want to see it though. I like that greenish brown color, but it's definitely dark enough already. Okay, I've got some silver pearl here, and should have already had this on here. Cover the belly. Put some on the maxillary. Heel flap. Good heavy coat or moderate coat. On my fish, I'm actually going to start here at the bottom. This is yellow ochre. It's kind of an opaque yellow, which is what we need. All the fins get a little bit of yellow. Sheet gets it. See, all this can be fixed up. It's no big. Main thing is right down here gets it. And even above the orange, I see yellow like where it's going above the orange on the belly. So I like to make sure I have enough. You can see where I'm putting it on down here on the belly. Okay, also make sure my fin is good and yellow, or not good and yellow, but here I've got my yellow ochre again. Well, about like that. I don't know if you notice on the reference pictures, but that yellow does kind of come up. It's in there, I guess is the right word. So don't be afraid to use it, that's for sure. Because I see it a lot. You want to get your base colors right, that's for sure. Good thing this yellow ochre is kind of opaque, because that means it'll come out. And we can re-whiten the belly if we need to. We can do a lot of corrections. The main thing is getting it looking the way you want it to look, you know, before you put your spots on Okay, I've got a little white, and sometimes you can, there's like a milky, hazy film on a fish, and a lot of times it's the very last thing you do. Put like a little bit of white on there, but it can also tone down some of your dark colors a little bit if you want it to. So, you know, just a light misting. Now I've got my brown again, and I'm gonna darken everything back up on top of the back. Put a little bit of detail in the fin dorsal. You want to keep it bright. Okay, I want to distinguish a little difference. Oh, also that's all right. The adipose gets pretty dark too. Oh, now my goal is to, we'll dress the mouth up again later. But this is it right here. We're going to be putting our spots in. And you basically want to just go a little bit down from the crest of the back where you think the spot should stop and where the vermiculation should start. Just a little bit of guesswork. Use some reference material. Okay, before we put the spots on, I just wanted to let you know about, I guess you'd call it like the halo effect. But I mean, you can see the orange spots. If you look real close, you'll see they've got brown around them. So it's not wrong. I guess you'd call it, yeah, the halo effect. That makes the spots really stand out and they look better and they don't have the foggy look. Here's a brown trout. These are some competitions that were won. And it looks like they've got the halo effect on their spots as well. If you look real close, it looks funny. Just like that. I'm just going to keep doing that. If you were doing artificial reproduction, you know, you'd have to make these up by yourself, which I've done quite a few times. Luckily, I can see them though. I'm surprised I can even see them. There's some paint schedules out there that show just putting in a yellow spot, but they look foggy. They don't look right. And I noticed that. And well, like on my pumpkin seed, I applied it to my pumpkin seed just like this, and come out looking pretty good. Probably about medium, I don't know, just fair intensity. You don't want it too harsh. But it's going to look good regardless. And the spots on a brook trout, the spots actually stop right before the vermiculations begin. So like right up in here, you just kind of stop where you think the vermiculations are going to come down, and you'll be fine. Okay, here's what I got so far. If you want to do a little bit more work on the, like maybe your head or along the back or something like that, or feel free to do it while you got this dark brown. Going to do quite a bit of work with the white, I guess you could say, but we're going to put the vermiculations in, and then put spots inside these brown spots with the white. I like to start from the back. And there's the vermiculation markings. It just, they don't go very far without breaking off, but they do go a while, some of them do. Make sure you get your airbrush adjusted right. You want about even width, I guess is the right way to say it. You want about as much dark in between the vermiculations as the width of the vermiculations, and you ought to be fine. Here's what I got so far. A lot of times you can practice drawing on paper for like a, just like a minute or so, and you kind of get the groove down, and then just apply it to your vermiculations, and you're in good shape. Got our white. We want to try to hit it head on. Okay, you want to try to hit the spot head on, and you also want to turn your pressure down on your airbrush. So when you hit the spot, you're not just spreading the paint out to the side, you're actually making a good, nice white spot. Okay, also with this white, you can go ahead and dress up your mouth a little. Nothing says you can't go back to any one of your other paints if you feel like you need to. To maybe redarken something or rebrighten something or whatever. Now, a lot of times I get carried away with the white on the face, but it doesn't matter, because when you shade with black, it takes care of everything. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, it's characteristic of these Brook Trout, this lower jaw right here is usually kind of white. Not the lit end, but like right in here, seems to have a lot of white in it. And the lower jaw does too, right here. But this gullet area right here is usually a little streak of it's real dark right here. So I just figured I'd throw that out there to you. You'll see it in your reference pictures. This right here is kind of dark, but the lower jaw tends to be bright for whatever reason. Well, not bright, but white. Now this right in there, that tends to be a little bit dark sometimes. Okay. Now we can, remember you telling you earlier, we can trace. Wow, that right there. Okay. Maybe if you're not exact, we're going to go back with a little more black or something, and going to shade it in. It's going to look great. Of course, if you wanted to hold your breath, it would help. But you don't have to. There we are. Go up around through there. That's whatever you feel comfortable with. But we're gonna still shade in the head even a little bit more later. I think it went a little bit dark right here anyway. Just right up in here. In other words, we're gonna brighten that up a little bit. So you can fix things too, see? Right there. There we are. And we go ahead and get all those spots, and I'll show you what we do next. Oh yeah, I forgot. A little bit in front of the eye. It's like half of an eclipse. I guess that's the right way to say it. Right in front and right behind. A lot of times you'll see it if the fish is mounted right. You'll see it. And it just adds a little bit. Now remember, we're going to shade with some more color and fix all that stuff. So go ahead and get those spots, and we'll see what we've got. Now I'm going to leave it up to you. It's kind of optional. I debated on whether to do it myself or not also. Now you can go ahead and go to your yellow ochre and cover everything that's white and trace it over with yellow ochre. It is a very tedious step. But after you do the yellow ochre, you want to go with brown over the back and darken the top of the back. And yeah, mostly where the vermiculations are, but by all means, make sure your dark brown is faded out completely before you get to the lateral line. But I've noticed a lot of people will trace out those vermiculations. A lot of the pros will. And it does make it look good. But you got to be careful, because you'll lose some of the form of your vermiculations if you try to trace them out with a dark brown. So be careful. But we did the spot, so it's kind of a natural to go ahead and do the vermiculations as well. Just be careful with it. And by the time you trace out the vermiculations, you've already darkened your back pretty good. So that's another, I guess you could say, a positive aspect of it. But we'll go ahead and get started and do that. Okay, got my dark brown again. And I'm going to go around all these vermiculations, paint them down real good. Okay, this is what I've got so far as vermiculations on the back. I've got most of them through here, but back here I haven't got them yet. And I went ahead and cleaned my eye off. And if you felt like you wanted to shade a little bit more with your brown, you could right now as far as the head. But I'm going to go ahead and get the vermiculations done, and I'll show you what we do next. Yellow ochre and a little bit of yellow over this white that we put on the face earlier. Okay, now we just go inside each one of the spots. Not only the spots, but the vermiculations. We're going to get all that done, and I'll show you what we've got. Still got my yellow. Yeah, I just want to kind of lighten him up a little bit. I may even go just a hair bit over the back a little bit with it. Maybe just lightly. Come up from the belly. Not to mention the yellow has a little bit of an opacity to it. And it kind of helps, make it where everything's not like too, stand out too much, you know what I mean? So, that's about right there. So that's got just kind of a little bit of a foggy look to it. I probably can't see it on the camera. It's just got like a little bit of a foggy look to it. Kind of want that. Then I can go back over it with brown again. And that's really gonna help get things going. There's a little bit up there. You got a little bit more to your fins. If your fins are too dark in places, feel free to add a little bit more. Every fish is different. Some people like to use a little bit of Basecoat Sealer in between paint, and with the idea that it adds more depth to the fish, which it probably does. Lays the paint down, let you know what you got as far as colors. You don't have to have it tilted or anything, you can do it head on. I just happen to have it this way. Now I've got my dark brown again. Right along the very top of the back. Lightly, not too heavy. Very tip top of the back. Then you put a light to medium coat right along the top of the back. You don't want to kill out your pretty yellow. You definitely want to stop it by the ladder line. By the time you hit the ladder line, it should be faded out, but you don't want to kill out your yellow. Barely go around the eye. You want to kill out that white we put. And let's see. You can see the color growing on. Okay, that's about it for the back. Pretty much as soon as you get below the vermiculations, you start wanting it to taper off pretty good. I'm going to shave the head a little bit more, kind of go around the eye a little, and down the maxillary. Down the end of the lower jaw, just on the lip. So now I've got bright orange. I'm going to stick right along the belly with this. And use a good reference picture. You don't want to kill all the yellow out completely. You want some of that to show. And you don't want it to look like a racing stripe either. So you've got to use a little bit of control here. And that's about like how you want it, really, as far as the orange. A little bit like gold toner, if you got it thinned down real good, to kind of go over the whole fish with it. And I'm going to give a little hint to the cheek and gill flap here, using the back of the fish. Just to give it a slight hint of orange. Because I do see this. I mean, ever so lightly. I just kind of want it to grow on there. You don't want it to kill all the yellow out. But you want it to look like there's a hint of it. You know, like the yellow is just off a little bit. I guess is the right word. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint my fins with this color as well. You don't want to mess with the dorsal much. Maybe just a hair. But you want a light coat on all the fins on the bottom, the tail and everything close to the belly. About a light to medium coat. As you well know, they about a medium range color of orange, about like that. Feel free to card your fins if you have to keep the paint from going on that white belly we've established. Just a good light coat. Moderate though. You want the orange to come out, in other words. Use a reference and let it determine, on your fish how much you want to put on there. But it's on there. Go ahead and get all your fins that way, and I'll show you what we do next. Next color is gill red. Well, at this time, make sure you got enough orange on your fins as well. So I think I'm pretty good. Just gonna even that little bit of green we put on earlier. You still want to see it a little bit. I'm just playing it safe. Okay, now gill red. Just wanted to say I noticed, you know, when I use the gold toner, or I guess in my case, the orange that was thinned down a whole lot, it not only did it kind of orange up the yellow a little bit, but it changed the value of the dark brown and made it almost more like a rich brown a little bit, just slightly. But you still get like a green overtone, but I can see a little bit where it's changed the value of the brown itself, which is a neat effect. And it seems accurate. I don't know if you can notice, but you can see definite gill red as far as the bottom of the belly and how it graduates up. You can definitely see orange too, but you can see how the gill red comes up, and it's not all uniform either. I mean, it comes up little splurges here, like around the belly area it comes up okay, and in between the pectoral and pelvic fins, you can see it comes up, and it's not super smooth or anything, but you don't want it like you don't want it like a racing stripe for sure. And let's see what else we got. Notice on the head, on this fish, you just see a little bit of the cheek, and the rest of it's black. If that tells you anything about, you know, how dark they can be. Okay, I've got my red. I don't want to kill out all my orange or anything. I guess tinting in is the right color. You want to phase it in. You don't want to go too heavy with it by any means. But right down here at the bottom where we're going to put that black belly mark here a little bit, you want it to start right there. You're going to be very careful with it. Almost went too heavy on it already. You just want to, mainly right there on the bottom, the spawning color. Then you want it to graduate up. It's not super clean either, the way it graduates up, but it goes pretty high up even, you know, in places. The belly tends to get a lot of it. Yeah, that's about right. Well, as you can tell, that gill red is pretty strong on some of these fins. I would err on the side of light as opposed to going too strong, because you can mess the fish up. Make it look like it's got a red racing stripe on his belly, and that doesn't look too good. Just, you know, just stronger on the bottom and fade out as you go up, and leave a little bit of the yellow above the orange and the red to kind of give a really good effect. You can even go in some of these spots and yellow them back up if you want to, which is something I might do here in a little bit. But we've got our gill red. Now what I'm going to do is focus on the fins. It's not the dorsal or the adipose, but right here I'm adding red to this. I'm giving it a rich kind of orange, more towards the base of the fin, but it makes for a really interesting looking fish. You do all your bottom fins this way. Concentrate on the base, making sure it's good and rich and red, and we're not super red, but in other words, you want the orange color underneath to show too. So that's a balance, the color you're trying to achieve. Is that real deep orange is the right word. More towards the leading edge is a good way to do it. You probably don't even have to cover the whole fin, just towards the, kind of more towards the base. Has a real good effect. And kind of fade out as you go out. Maybe let the previous orange color you put on take over. It's a real good effect. I've got my yellow ochre in again. We're going to go to black in a second, but I just thought right now would be a good time to yellow some of these dots back up. And we're going to black now. And as I said earlier, you can get as intricate as you can with the belly. That black seam that goes just behind the pecs and pelvic fins and tapers out to the anal fin. And you see how it kind of routes up towards the bottom of the gills and all that stuff. So this kind of, you can get as good as you want with it. Both are accurate because it just depends on the fish. Some are more like that. So you've got both things going on there. Now I'm starting with a reference, trying to get it as close as I can. Sometimes it fades out before it gets to these front fins right here. I've seen it do that too. Now the sharpness is not so much on this side. On the upper belly side, it's the white on the belly is where the sharpness and the contrast comes in, on some of the fish. That's about right. Looks pretty bad. All these wrinkles and stuff on it, but I'm taking advantage of it. Try to make it look like something. And it usually stops right at the anal fin, somewhere in there. There may be a little bit of darkness back in here. Then you do the other side the same way, the other side of the belly. Kind of on the other side of the belly now too. The side that's not going to be seen that much. we're going to go back over those belly marks with the white underneath, and that's going to add your contrast. But we're going to do that later. Right now we still got our black. Do just a little bit of shading. It's real easy to darken these fish too much, or the fins too much, where they don't look too hot. That's pretty good. And then about the first two, something like that, with black. And then of course you want the black to feather out and show on the about like that. That's perfect. Fins are dark anyway on these fish anyway, but we do all our fins that way. That's about right there. Might have to turn your fish somehow to make sure you get it the way you want it. There again, those. We'll go all the way to the end of that black. About like that. First. It gets pretty dark on the outside. And of course you want to angle spray and bring out some of those fins. But first we're going to like that. Okay, you want to angle spray just to, to bring out the fin, of course. Of course, when you do that, guess what happens to the fin, of course? It gets darker. But I got a remedy for that. I'll show that here in a little bit. Okay, I've got a good tail reference, and I'm going to use this as good as I can to bring out the tail. And this is with my black. I'm going to put in the markings. Okay, here's what I got for the tail. Now, if you want to touch these gills up, nothing wrong with putting a little black. Because it's there. Go ahead and get inside the mouth. The tongue gets it, and the roof of the mouth gets it. Just a medium coat. And that's what I got for the dorsal fin. And I don't angle spray much because it just darkens the fin, and we don't want to darken it where you can't see it. It's got a little bit of angle spray on it where I sprayed the back. If you notice, I haven't done much angle spraying on this fish anyway. So many wrinkles on this fish. If I was to angle spray, it'd bring out all the wrinkles, and you know, it really looked bad. Now, if you feel like you darken your fins too much, you could go back in there with bright orange. I've done it before, like on the tail. Tail was too dark. I just slightly mixed in with my bright orange and made just like, almost like dots, but not really noticeable. And the effect of what it's doing is really brightening my fin back up. I've done that a lot. I did pretty good on this one. Some of your other fins, if you think they're too dark, you can do that as well. You use your bright orange and bring them back out. Oh, if you wanted to add a little bit more color to your fins, you can angle spray with orange, and also the gill red is transparent enough. If you want to add more red to your fins, you can spray it right on there, and that's not going to cover up your black. Most of the spray isn't going to be on the fin. Most of it. Now, a lot of times I've seen it where the white tapers out before it connects to the body. There's different ways to do it though. You want to give them crisp. Probably don't want your paint too thin. You don't want your paint too thin. Most of the spray is not hitting the fin. Most of it is just blowing into the air. You can go as far as the second one. And if you have to go in there with a brush, you can do that too. Then clean up any overspray. You can also dress up this belly a little bit better if you want to. Kind of like go in between here. I think you get that idea what I'm doing. But yeah, you can dress it up a little bit and get rid of any where you might have accidentally sprayed the belly. But you see how you can kind of fix it up a little bit on the belly. I still got my white. Now what do I paint some of my spots white? These are going to be the blue spots later. Okay, went ahead and put my white spots on there. Okay, now I've got half and half turquoise, silver metallic, and about 10 drops of the Sailfish blue, just to kind of deepen the blue of the turquoise that's in it. And I'm going over all my white spots. And when I said half and half, I meant about 35 drops of the turquoise, 35 drops of the silver metallic, and then about 10 drops of the Sailfish blue. Now that I've got all my blue spots, I'm going to go right in the center of all of them with a little dot of white. I may have failed to mention, but as far as the blue dots, you don't want to go too much further past the angle fin. Okay, now there's a white halo inside the blue halo, but you can't hardly see it, and it's not that much of a difference in color. But I'm trying to stay just in the middle of the white. I have been known to use a brush. I mean, it's just a dot anyway. It's right in the middle of the white that's inside the blue. You see how that's coming along. I'll get that done and show you what we have. Now I put my gill red right in the middle of these blue halos. Now some of these bottom yellow spots I might pick just a handful. Just make, you know, you don't want to get carried away. Put a little dot of this gill in the eye off. And gloss the fish. Okay, now I've got some gloss top coat. First coat, you want to just kind of like set the paint. You don't want to go on super heavy. You definitely don't want it to drip or anything. Wait a few minutes and we'll put another coat. Make sure you get the front and the back, every part of the fish. But this is how I paint a brook trout.